Check out these two lifters. On the left, we've got Sigmund Klein, representing what I would consider to be the quintessential Bronze Era physique. On the right, we've got Steve Reeves, the best example of Silver Era aesthetics which still influences bodybuilding to this day. If you examine them closely, you'll start to notice a bunch of differences. But there's one part of their bodies that changes the entire structure of these physiques. That's the core. Sigmund Klein, like almost all Bronze Era bodybuilders, had the ripped six-pack. In fact, his abs were probably even more ripped than most Silver Era bodybuilders. But interestingly, we also see a wide waist and thick obliques, which made for a blocky and powerful looking torso. This is a very clear trend in the Bronze Era. Their cores were brutally strong and created a look which you just don't see much in later bodybuilders. So what exactly was going on? The answer is quite interesting and has a couple layers to it. So first we need to point out that the V-taper, this idea that a great male physique should have wide shoulders and flaring lats combined with a thin waist, is actually a very modern invention. It became the standard in bodybuilding during the Silver Era, when men like Steve Reeves popularized the look. It stuck through the Golden Era and is still the standard sort of classic aesthetic most of us are going for today. But this kind of aesthetic just wasn't a thing in early bodybuilding. Even when we look at classical statues from ancient Greece and Rome, which we know served as inspiration for the first generation of bodybuilders, we see thick, blocky physiques that exude physical power and stability. We certainly don't see anything close to a thin waist. Now, aesthetics alone don't explain why their waists actually grew thicker. That comes down to training. Bronze Era lifters lived in a world with almost no specialized equipment. A typical Bronze Era gym was only equipped with free weights, usually just barbells, or a couple dumbbells and kettlebells as well if you're lucky. The sort of stuff we're used to finding in even the most basic gyms today, like a bench or a power rack, just didn't exist back then. Not to mention any of the cable machines. In fact, one of the only pieces of specialized training equipment available during the Bronze Era was the chest expander. These things offered an excellent way to exercise with the resistance of springs rather than free weights. They unlocked movement patterns which weren't possible to replicate with barbells or dumbbells, and they remained popular throughout the Silver Era, as we often see old school greats using them. So with that in mind, it's an honor to have this video brought to you by the Robert Baraban Chest Expander. You guys know this channel doesn't usually accept sponsorships, but when it comes to a product which I have been genuinely using in my own training for years now, I'm more than happy to wholeheartedly recommend it. Robert Baraban without a doubt builds the highest quality expanders on the market. They're hand built in Europe and made to last a lifetime. It's a small and versatile piece of kit which you can take with you anywhere and get a killer upper body workout. If you've never tried an expander before, you'll find the springs offer a totally new type of stimulus that can kick your ass while also being wonderfully easy on the joints. The standard model is great for beginners and advanced lifters alike, as you can adjust the number of springs from 1 to 7, allowing you to progressively overload your exercises. So whether you want to explore some old school training methods or just try something new in your workouts, head over to shop.handgripper.net and check out Robert Baraban's chest expander. Now let's get back to the video and see how the Bronze Era training methods shaped those early physiques. Every lift began the same way. You picked up the heavy bar off the floor and tried to move it somehow, either with one hand or two hands, without being folded in half by it. Many of their staple lifts involved unilateral movements. We're talking about the bent press, of course, but also one-arm deadlifts, one-arm snatches, two hands anyhow. These aren't just your typical compound movements. They're asymmetrical, off balance, and brutally demanding on the torso. When you do a one-arm deadlift or a bent press, your core isn't trying to twist your body. It's trying to stop it from twisting. It's a solid bracing under huge load that builds crazy thickness, rather than a sort of body weight crunch you would typically associate with an ab workout. Look at this photo of Mexique. His abs are so much more developed than his chest or anything else for that matter. The way they bulge out of his body is wild. It almost reminds me of the bubble gut you see in modern mass monsters, but we're not looking at his swollen organs fighting for survival. His core is just pure thick muscle. That's the Bronze Era look. But there's a bit more to it actually, because the modern V-taper doesn't just come from a thin waist. It's specifically the combination of a thin waist with broad shoulders and flaring lats. And if you think about it, blowing up your back into a wide set of wings without also making your torso into a powerful block of muscle is actually not that simple to pull off unless you have access to some specific training methods and equipment. Enter the pull-up. This is such a simple and now ubiquitous exercise that you would be forgiven for thinking it was always a staple in bodybuilding. But surprisingly, that's not the case. The pull-up and the pull-up bar as a piece of equipment wasn't standard at all until the Silver Era. I've looked at a lot of Bronze Era books and training manuals. I don't think I've ever seen the pull-up mentioned once. Pull-ups allow you to train in a way which simply can't be replicated with barbells. Specifically, you can blow up your lats with barely any use of your core. Basically, the pull-up bar and also cable machines with their seated rows and lat pull-downs unlock back isolation. Whereas before, any back training forced the entire frame to be loaded, now the back could grow separately from the waist. So it comes down to Bronze Era lifters being forced to grow their backs by supporting heavy weight, which also grows their waists with it. While starting from the Silver Era, lifters could grow their backs by pulling weight with a relatively passive torso. That's how the V-taper was born. Just look at this photo of Steve Reeves. Yeah, I know it's exaggerated with the angle and the way he's twisting, but still, the lats are unbelievably wide and his waist is tiny. That specific look simply did not exist like a decade or two before this photo was taken. Interestingly, there's a strong remnant of that blocky Bronze Era physique in modern day CrossFit. Those athletes do so many unconventional exercises, they're pretty much ravaging their cores non-stop from every angle during their training. And it really shows in the kind of bodies they develop. Check out any high-level CrossFit athlete. That dramatic V-taper shape is almost completely absent. The torso is just a block of muscle with wide, powerful obliques and bulging abs. It's so much closer to a Bronze Era physique than anything we see in modern bodybuilding. Modern strongmen likely also have blocky shapes hiding beneath all that bulk, as we saw with Eddie and Half Thor when they cut down for their boxing match. The point is that the V-taper shape is essentially just an invention of modern bodybuilding, and requires the specific intention of minimizing growth through the midsection to achieve. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but certainly we can conclude that the shape of modern bodybuilders is not some universal expression of strength or athleticism. And once you understand that, the old school Bronze Era physiques stop looking outdated and start looking like the natural outcome of what a strong body should be. Nowadays, we go as far as doing a sort of artificial selection of athletes for an even more exaggerated V-taper in bodybuilding. When a lifter has a naturally narrow waist, they're praised for having quote-unquote good bodybuilding genetics, while a lifter with a naturally thicker waist and blocky torso will always have an uphill battle when it comes to competing. A concept which would have been totally alien in the Bronze Era. So if you've made it this far into the video, leave a comment below and let me know your preferences. Do you like the upside down triangle look, or do you prefer a more square aesthetic?